In the second quarter of 2026, Coral Gables single-family homes recorded 112 total closings for the quarter. And when you look at the first quarter numbers plus the second quarter numbers, we're looking at total closings of almost 200, at 198 to be exact, in the first 6 months of 2026. Coral Gables is not just active, it's the most active home market that I cover in Miami right now. I am Jose Laya, and I was born and raised right here in Miami, and I've been selling real estate in the city for 20 years. I've seen every market cycle this city has gone through, and today I'm going to give you the real numbers. And in our first graph, we're going to start with the numbers for the second quarter, and we're going to go month by month, and then that bottom row in light blue has the total for the second quarter. Let's take a look. Look at the active listings in April. Let's just focus on the active listings. Ready? Active listings were 104, broken down to 80 for non-waterfront. Waterfront homes are in light blue, 24. Look at May, 137. The non-waterfront homes jumped from 80 to 108. Waterfront homes stayed about the same, 25. June, another big increase to 162. Non-waterfront, look at this. In April, you had 80 active listings for non-waterfront homes. That jumped up to 135. That's a huge increase, but we're going to explain. What we found is that most listings that are taken either at the end of the previous year or at the beginning of this year are set to expire on March 31st with the end of the first quarter. We call this a ramping up effect, as we noticed that a lot of listings come March 31st or April 1st that were active on the market drop off the market because the listing expires. And as the days and weeks go by, you have these sellers relist their properties. This ramping up effect is just a normal condition of the market that we've seen. So that is why you have, look at that huge increase in active listings. It could be a cause for concern, but no, it's a normal function of the real estate market. That being said, let's move over to closed sales and see what happened here month over month. Look at that. In April, you had 41. Out of the 41, 38 of them non-waterfront, only 3 waterfront. Look at that months of supply, how low that is, 2 and 8. Days on market is even more impressive. Look at this, 31 days for non-waterfront homes at a median price per square foot of over $900 at a median price sold of $2.2 million. Those 3 waterfront closed sales, look at that. The days on market, that's pretty extraordinary. The median days on market is 18 days, so under a month. And they transacted at over $4,600 per square foot at a median price sold of $15.6 million. Those are extraordinary numbers. Let's keep going down and see the number of closed sales, which is what I want to focus on. So we went from 41 to 43, slight increase, where you actually had more waterfront homes sold in May than you did in April, from 3 to 6 months of supply. That's why it came down to 4. That's pretty impressive. You know, you basically see numbers holding. I mean, look at the median price per square foot for non-waterfront homes at $904, slightly lower. Median price sold, $2.2 million. Look at the number for waterfront homes, $20 million for those 6 that sold. That's pretty impressive. Now June, all of a sudden, April, May, you had 41, 43 closed sales, and boom, 28 closed sales. That was a big slowdown. The non-waterfront homes went down to 25, while the waterfront stayed at 3 from 6. It went down actually. Let's look at the totals now for the second quarter. Obviously, we ended the quarter with 162 active listings, 135 waterfront, 27 waterfront, 112 closed sales for the quarter. As we said, that's the strongest number of closed sales in a quarter for any of the neighborhoods that I cover. Months of supply, 4 and 7, that's signs of a healthy market. Days on market, 42 and 143. And the median price per square foot for the second quarter, look at that, $919. So prices are holding. $2,500 per square foot for waterfront homes. Prices are holding. Median price for a non-waterfront home to end the second quarter, look at that, let's call it 2.4 million, while the waterfront homes are at 15.950. Let's call that $16 million. These are very, very strong numbers. And we always like to highlight the highest priced closed sale of the quarter. It was an extraordinary waterfront mansion in one of the most exclusive communities in Coral Gables, known as Old Cutler Bay. It's one of the exclusive gated waterfront communities in all of Miami. It was a newer built home, built in 2022, over 8,000 square feet. It sold for $47 million at over $5,863 per square foot. That is the highest price per square foot of any sale in any neighborhood that I cover for the second quarter. And it speaks directly to what premium waterfront in Coral Gables can command. In our next graph, we're going to take these total numbers for the second quarter and try to put them in context by comparing them to the first quarter of 2026. It's going to tell us where the market was, where it is, and where it may be heading for the third quarter. So let's take a look at that graph now. The numbers comparing Q1 to Q2 to really give us some context. Look at this, the number of active listings, that's pretty much on par. But look at closed sales. Closed sales went from the first quarter, you got a total of 86. It jumped to 112. That's almost 30% higher for non-waterfront homes, over 70% more waterfront homes transacted, even though it was a small number from 7 to 12. But look at this. That bottom row is the percent change. That tells us whether things were good or bad. Anytime you see red, it's considered negative, but a lot of times things that go down are actually pretty positive. Like months of supply, look at that. Going down, that's a positive. Days on market going down, that's actually a positive. So even though you see red, meaning that it decreased, it's actually a positive for that key metric. Now, obviously prices, you want to see green. That indicates that prices have increased from the first to second quarter. But closed sales jumped pretty dramatically. That brought down months of supply, as you could see here. That brought down days on market, as you could see here for the non-waterfront homes. Waterfront homes increased from 95 to 143. You could see that's a 50% increase. But the truth of the matter, this is when you really have to dive into the numbers. Look at the next two columns. Median price per square foot and median price sold. Look at the numbers. For non-waterfront homes, they stayed about flat, 917 and 919. But look at waterfront homes. They went from a median price of about $1,900, let's call that, to $2,526. That's a 34% increase, as you can see there. So even though the days on market increased for waterfront homes, look at how prices increased by about 34%. Now, the next column over, median price sold for non-waterfront homes jumped from $2 million to right under $2.4 million, while the waterfront homes more transacted. So they went from 7 to 12, which you would think prices may have come down. On the contrary, look at the median price sold. It jumped from just over $10 million to just under $16 million. That's a 56% increase in the median price sold for waterfront homes. So that's why we like to put these numbers on the board. Let the numbers tell us what's happening in the market. So even though you saw the days on market increase for waterfront homes, look at how the prices jumped up as well. That's a sign of a very healthy market. You have more closings, stronger prices in both segments, moving in the right direction from Q1 to Q2. That's the real story here for Coral Gables homes. So where does this data suggest that the market may be heading into the third quarter? One thing that stood out, as we say, the combination of a growing number of sales while prices strengthening, that's the most encouraging signal I can show you in any market. When more buyers are closing and paying more, that's not a coincidence. That is a market with real momentum. If this trajectory holds through the third quarter, Coral Gables could be delivering its strongest full year of closings and pricing in recent memory. I will have the Q3 numbers for you when the data is in. Subscribe so you don't miss it. So what this means for you, if you're a buyer in Coral Gables, the non-waterfront data is clear. Supplies at 4 months, as we saw. Days on market for the second quarter ended at 42. That's just over a month. Median price sold jumped from $2 million to just under $2.4 million. This is not a market where you have unlimited time to pick a property. Properties priced correctly are moving fast. You have to come prepared, know what you want, and be ready to act, because the buyers competing with you are doing exactly that. If you're a seller of a non-waterfront home, the 6-month consistency in sales is good for you. This market has not had a single slow month in 2026. Demand is real, demand is steady, and it looks like it's not going anywhere. If you price your home correctly, present it well, the data says you'll be under contract in a short amount of time. If you're a seller of a waterfront home in Coral Gables, with the number of closings we had, even though days on market edged up, look at how pricing increased. That clearly shows that buyers will pay a premium for the right property. If you're a seller of a waterfront home in Coral Gables, the market seemed to pick up from the first to second quarter. Days on market did increase, so it seems like buyers are being a little bit more patient. However, the pricing increased, not only on a median price per square foot, but a median price sold jumped 50%. That tells us, yes, buyers are being patient and waiting for the right home at the right price, but it also shows that they're willing to pay a premium for that right home. And that is your complete Coral Gables single family homes market update for the second quarter of 2026. We were able to show you where the market was, where it is today, and where it may be heading for the third quarter. If you found this useful, subscribe. I cover different Miami neighborhoods with real data and 20 years of experience behind every number I share with you. Drop your questions in the comments or reach out directly if you're ready to buy or sell in Coral Gables. I am always happy to help.